going on, everybody? We're back today. I know it's been a little bit more than just a week, but we're today back with another podcast episode. Today's episode number 5. Back to Tello Talk, and we got quite a bit of stuff to talk about. The preseason just ended this past weekend. Didn't get to talk about week 2. I'll get a little bit of week 2 and week 3, mainly week 2, because that's what I've got down on my notes. Got some baseball today, but mainly football today. Mainly football, I would say. But as a matter of fact, since I've been gone for so long, let's hop right back into it. Let's try to make this a good quality time. We're gonna start off first of all. Rest in peace to Len Dawson, quarterback for the Chiefs back a long time ago. During one of the first Super Bowls. The Chiefs paid homage to him by doing a little choir huddle. So respect to them for that, and rest in peace to Len Dawson. Let's hop right into it. We got some QB battle stuff to talk about first. Starting with Geno Smith was named Seattle's quarterback 1 for this season. And it makes sense. Drew Lock threw like 6-7 interceptions in the preseason. And he didn't even play all the snaps. And with number 2s on the field. Not something you want to see from a guy that you could have starting. Seattle, Geno Smith isn't the greatest option, but it's the best option they have. And players such as DK, you'll see players such as DK, Tyler Lockett, kind of maybe struggle from that. Noah Fant maybe too, as he does have a connection with Drew Lock compared to Geno. But that's how that's going to go for them. I hope the best for Geno. I mean, I've got a lot of friends who are Seattle Seahawks fans, as much as I don't really like the Seahawks. I hope the best for them because they're not looking so high right now. But guy I will look out for is Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny, if he can stay healthy, he will be an absolute monster for that Seattle team, as he was at the end of the season last year. Even with a little bit of a lackluster offensive line, he still dominated. So look out for that, man. And then the other QB battle, Carolina. Baker Mayfield was named the starter. Sam Darnold. Better for them to move off from Sam Darnold. And actually, I've got something right here. From week 1, talking about week 1, the Browns play the Panthers week 1, and obviously Baker Mayfield is the new starting quarterback. Baker Mayfield came up and he says, "I am gonna F them up." That's he straight up says, "I'm gonna F them up." He's confident, and honestly for me, I'm a Saints fan. I don't want him to, but at the same time, I love Baker Mayfield. I think I would love to see him F up the Browns and just kind of dominate them. That's something I'd love to see. Okay, and that's really all I got to say about that situation. I got a guy in the house named Trey. He would love to talk about it. He'd go on and on about this Baker Mayfield stuff. He's the biggest Baker fan. Poor guy's a Browns fan, though. So those are my two main QB things. The Steelers one, really, I don't know if they came out with one. I still think Trubisky's the QB1 at the end of the day. Kenny Pickett did great in the preseason, however, 29 for 36, 261 yards and 3 touchdowns during the preseason. However, was not the leader in passing yards. I believe that was Sam Howell who led the preseason in passing yards. And an undrafted free agent for, I can't think of the team, was the leader in receiving yards, so good for that guy. And quick little refresher from last episode, I said Charles Cross was drafted by the Panthers. That is incorrect. It was Icky, and I don't remember his last name, but he's from North Carolina State. Just wanted to clear that up. But we're going to start off with some preseason again. Isaiah Likely, tight end for the Ravens, looking like he's probably the highest valued pick from this draft so far. He looked amazing for the Ravens in the preseason. I'm hoping to see him get more snaps, but I mean, with Mark Andrews as the starting tight end on that team, you may not see him on the field as much unless they run some 2 tight end packages, line him up at receiver, or line Mark Andrews up at receiver. But he's on the Baltimore Ravens squad. They're a very versatile squad that can benefit from how he's been playing in the preseason. We'll have to see. Going on, we're going to head to the Cowboys real quick. Kavontae Turpin in week 2, 2 touchdowns off of returns, turning heads. He's a former TCU Horned Frog, so, go Frogs. I'm a big Horned Frogs fan. I love to see it from him. I knew when he joined the USFL, he's going to turn heads, get a sign probably from the NFL, and he did get signed in the NFL. And, I mean, he's a guy that I think will definitely make their 53-man roster, be a returner for them, to be able to keep one of their bodies of the starting receivers or something out of the way, put a guy who specializes in that, kind of like a Devin Hester type guy. Obviously, he won't be as good as Devin Hester, but he's still a good returner. I mean, he did it throughout college, throughout the USFL. I think he played in the XFL, I think maybe. He's a guy to look out for to get a couple returns for touchdowns if he stays on a roster. We're going to go on to another rookie quarterback that I did not mention earlier, Malik Willis. Malik Willis is actually the first quarterback since Lamar Jackson to have such a good rookie preseason. I believe it was 120-plus rushing yards and 300-plus passing yards. They're the only two to actually ever do that. Since 2015, sorry. And that's a guy you want to be compared to as Malik Willis. If you're compared to Lamar Jackson, because I think Malik Willis has the capability to have a way better arm talent. He's a way better arm talent than Lamar. And if he can work on that running game, like he showed his legs in college, he showed his legs in the preseason. If he keeps that up in the regular season, I could see Tannehill losing his job. Malik Willis did an amazing job. I'm very high on him. I'm still surprised to this day that he was a third-round draft pick, not a first. A lot of people thought he was going to be going to first round to like the Steelers or something like that, and he didn't. He went third round, I think 80 something pick, not where I expected him to go, especially Tennessee. I didn't expect Tennessee to draft him third round. I was honestly like hoping maybe the Saints draft him, have him under Jameis have Jameis play for another couple years. If Jameis doesn't work out, then you have a young guy like Malik Willis to turn to, and now obviously they've got Jameis and Andy Dalton, and Ian Book's probably going to get cut. That's just how I feel about that. Malik Willis, though, don't be surprised if Tannehill looks a little lackluster like he did at the end of last season. He could get some snaps. He could get some meaningful snaps in the regular season for the Tennessee Titans. They're getting a healthy Derrick Henry back. They did lose A.J. Brown. They acquired Robert Woods, and I'm not saying Robert Woods is on the same caliber. He's good, but he's not A.J. Brown good. And they lost Julio Jones. Julio Jones is now a Buck. Just be ready for it. That's what I'm saying. Just be prepared and don't be surprised by it. We're going to talk about more rookies again. Obviously, that's the big thing about the preseason is what can rookies do? How can they stand out to a team? Dameon Pierce for the Houston Texans. They are very high on this guy. I am also very high on this guy. Now, I'm not saying if you're doing fantasy drafts to draft them early, super early, take the hype. Yes, go look for him if he's available, but don't draft him too early because, yes, he is still not seeing a regular season snap. But in the time that he had in the preseason, he did amazing. I think, to be honest, the Texans, who are a team, don't really have a solidified RB1. I could see him taking that spot. I feel like he is deserving of that spot. So I'd give Dameon Pierce, if I were the Texans, I'd give him the starting spot. And we're going to move on to rookie wide receivers. Two receivers that I'm most looking forward to. Actually, I'll take 5. We'll do 5. Garrett Wilson, obviously, New York Jets. I think Zach Wilson's going to flourish with Wilson and second-year Elijah Moore and newly acquired tight end C.J. Uzomah from the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year he was on the Super Bowl squad. Was a pretty reliable target for Joe Burrow. That guy is going to be someone to look out for. Obviously, as much as I hate to say it, Drake London for the Falcons. I think his stock is rising up as a rookie wide receiver, even a fantasy wide receiver, because they don't really have a solidified wide receiver one now that Russell Gage, I believe, is on the Buccaneers. George Pickens, I mean, he's been doing incredible. He just looks like what he's been doing did at Georgia before he got hurt. The year before, not this last season because he played this last season. George Pickens is someone that I think could get more targets than Chase Claypool. Maybe not Deontay, but maybe towards the end of the year, more than Deontay. But he could definitely get more than Chase Claypool, and without Juju Smith-Schuster on the team anymore, you won't have to worry about that as well. be ready for a good year from him. Be ready for a good year. And then obviously, I know I've only said 3. I'm actually going to do only 4. Chris Olave. I'm a Saints fan. It might be biased. You can call me biased all you want. But Chris Olave is that guy. Chris Olave is that guy. Olave Garden. He's that guy. There's really not much to say. I mean, you saw him back at Ohio State. C.J. Stroud loved throwing it to him, and he would catch that ball. He would get the ball. He'd go get that ball. Perfect route runner, in my opinion. One of already showing if he keeps his college routes in the way he used to run those, if he runs it like he does in the NFL, he could, in a couple years, be like a Justin Jefferson, who's already considered a top 5 route runner in the league. And I've got some other stuff to say about the Saints in a little bit. But for now, we'll leave that for a little bit. I've got to say right here, the Ravens, just talking a little back about them, the 3-0. 23-game win streak for the preseason. Does it mean anything? No. I say no. It's just kind of, a preseason, once again, is a spot for younger guys or guys trying to solidify themselves on a roster to prove themselves. And preseason, so winning 23 straight, yeah, it's cool to say, oh, our team's won 23 straight, but it's not like they've won 23 straight meaningful games. These aren't meaningful games. They're meaningful games to players, but to the teams, like for records, purely just records, they don't matter. There's a reason they're called the preseason, because it's before the season, not regular season or postseason, where postseason matters the most, obviously the most. I'd argue to say that the end of the regular season matters most than the postseason, other than the Super Bowl, obviously. But preseason doesn't matter; it just matters for solidifying roster spots. And 2 guys that I really want to talk about before I get into my Saints stuff is Desmond Ridder, another rookie quarterback. I thought he impressed pretty well. Do I think he deserves the starting spot over Mariota? No. Mariota's going to go out, be the starting quarterback. Got not really that big of a gap to fill from Matt Ryan. I mean, Matt Ryan is getting a little older. He wasn't doing as much. Obviously, he was a former MVP back that year. They choked in the Super Bowl. But Mariota, he does have something to prove. He hasn't had really a starting job in a while. He was a little bit of a speed option kind of guy for the Raiders back last in how many years he's been with them. They kind of like used him every once in a while to come in and run a read option, run a run play. And I think the Falcons offense, that's something you should see more out of them, is Cordell Patterson and Mariota option, and see Mariota finding Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and even Cordell Patterson in the backfield. See him finding those 3 a lot, because he's going to need some reliable guys. And I don't know if the Falcons have really established that. I mean, Kyle Pitts, you could say, because he had a 1,000-yard season, but he had only 1 touchdown. He's not reliable when it comes to scoring. He's reliable when it comes to getting you yards. We're going to get on to one more guy, Patrick Surtain, the second elite play in his camps and films. You've seen, if you look at his clips, they're amazing. I've been so high on him. I wanted the Saints to find a way to draft him, but I mean, obviously, when he was a rookie, the Saints were playoff contenders the year before, so they didn't get to really pick that high. Patrick Surtain will be a dog. He will be a top 5 corner this next season. Saints. On to the Saints. I believe the Saints hype needs to exist. Where is the Saints hype? It's not here, and it's a little unacceptable that it's not here, because their team went 9-8 last year with a 52% of their starting roster healthy. 9-8. One of their tight ends was their quarterback. Jameis Winston's back. He's going to be even better. Michael Thomas is back. Chris Olave's been drafted. Jarvis Landry's been signed. Tyrann Mathieu's been signed. Marcus May's been signed. The only thing that I do have to say, and I'm not going to go on for too long. I know I was telling some people around the house that I might, but I'm trying to stay a little calm about it. But the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade that just happened today was unacceptable. It was a terrible trade. I get it. I get it with money wise. I still would have paid the guy more because he's a fan favorite. He wants to be a part of the team. He loves the Saints, and who knows? Maybe this next offseason when he becomes a free agent, the Saints may offer him another contract, and he may come back. I'd love to see him come back to the Saints because, I mean, I know that I've always loved watching him. I love how he gets into people's heads, kind of just bothers them all the time. And I'd love to see him come back. And, I mean, I hope the Eagles treat him well. I hope the Eagles do well with him. I hope he does amazing with the Eagles. I will always be his fan as much as I don't really enjoy seeing the Eagles, but that's another great addition for the Eagles. And something that they need to show the Cowboys that, hey, you're not the only good team in this division. Okay, yeah. But Olave had his first touchdown catch in the preseason in Week 2. Jameis had an amazing preseason debut in Week 3. I'm so high on Jameis. I feel like he will be a guy. I mean, he was a guy who was projected for, I think, 3,600 yards, 40 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions, compared to his 30 for 30 last starting 30 touchdown, 30 interception season the last time he started. And, I mean, I would gladly take 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions from that guy. I think Jameis can lead a guy to the playoffs. I think he can lead them to the Super Bowl because Jameis is a playmaker. He's a risk taker. He makes risk. He may sometimes make a little too many risks, but he's a risk taker, and I like guys who do that. Patrick Mahomes is a guy who does risk. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. Even Tom Brady at sometimes he's a risk taker, and I mean he's the greatest player of all time. Matthew Stafford led the league in interceptions, won a Super Bowl this last year. Joe Burrow, risk taker, loves to try and throw it up to T. Higgins, who's gigantic. Jamar, who's obviously one of his favorite receivers. Those are guys that succeed in the league, guys who take risks, but don't take enough risks. They take a good amount of risk. And I'm not MT. I know Michael Thomas was a little bit hurt, but I think he'll be fine. The whole hamstring thing's nothing to worry about. He'll be fine. We'll have a good season regardless, and I'm excited to see what the Saints do. I'm excited to see what they do with their rookies as well, and going on with rookies. Brian Robinson for the Washington Commanders. It was sad to hear that there was an attempted robbery and he was shot a couple times. Glad to hear that it was nothing serious, no life-threatening injuries, and he's already back in the building. Obviously, he is not practicing. He was in crutches. That's just a quick story. I love seeing that. He's optimistic about it. He's feeling fine. And I feel like he'll be someone that can share the backfield with Antonio Gibson, maybe even take some snaps with Antonio Gibson. Okay. That's awkward. Laviska Shenault was just recently traded to the Panthers. I don't remember what it was, but Jaguars, I don't know why they traded him. I would have kept him. He's a good addition for the Jaguars, especially because the Jaguars don't have DJ Chark anymore. So we're gonna go. Another thing, I think one of my last things I'm gonna say before I almost wrap up the football section is Alex Leatherwood, the former Raiders left tackle, and a keyword former, has been released. It's honestly smart. He doesn't do anything. All he does is hold. He doesn't really make that big of an impact on the field. So I mean, Raiders, good for them. I don't know. I think he played left guard actually, because Colton Mitchell's their left tackle. But Raiders, their line's okay. Sometimes it's a little iffy, but we'll have to see where they go from there. My last thing I want to talk about before I get into the MLB portion of this podcast, which I have a lot of stuff to talk about for that, is my preseason top 5 after watching these teams, and obviously they're not always all starters. I'm going to go number 5. We've got the Bengals. I think they're going to be out for blood this season, and they'll be fine. I mean, they got a couple of extra guys on their O-line. They did some stuff. I mean, I think they might have lost some people. They didn't lose very many. Number 4, I've got the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champs. I know it's kind of a disrespectful thing to put them all the way down at 4 after they are the reigning Super Bowl champs. I think think there is 3 teams better than them. One of these teams people will probably argue about, which is number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they lost Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill was never really even their wide receiver 1. That has always been Travis Kelce. And on top of that, they got guys like Sky Moore. They just drafted Sky Moore. They just signed Juju. They just signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They still have Mecole Hardman, who's a great vertical threat. And Patty Mahomes. Patty Mahomes is their quarterback. They'll be fine. Their defense, I think, could have a resurgence in sacks this year, like I said in my last episode. We'll just have to see where they go from there. Number 2, I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hate to say it, but Tom Brady's back, so their entire team's back. That's pretty much all you got to say about them. And then number 1, obviously, the Bills. I think the Bills still have the most complete roster in the NFL. They're one of the best defenses in the league. And then, obviously, I think probably the best offense in the league. Top 5 defense and the number 1 offense is something that basically, on paper, writes Super Bowl. It's not – their destiny is up to them. It's not up to anybody else other than them. And an honorable mention, I will say, is Green Bay. Despite losing Devontae, they got Christian Walker. I feel like Allen Lazard could have a good year this year. And Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and he's still got that deadly backfield duo of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon in the back. All right, and on to our NFL is over. On to our MLB. A couple of days ago, Julio Rodriguez, congrats to him, 14-year extension, $200 million, $210 million as the base, could be up to $400 million with team and player options. I think Seattle did an amazing job doing that, getting him locked up for 14 years. Julio Rodriguez is already one of the top players in the league. He's being a young sensation with the speed. He's got the speed, the pop, the electricity. He's just the defense. He's a complete package. That's what I think he is. I think he's the complete package. Would I say he's a complete 5-tool player? I could see myself calling him a 5-tool player. So good for the Seattle Mariners. I think I might have just said the Seahawks earlier. But it's good for the Seattle Mariners for locking that man up. Because he's a great person to lock up. But we're gonna actually stay in the West. But actually the NL West. We're gonna talk about Walker Bueller. Had his second Tommy John surgery sometime last week, I believe. So he is out until 2024. Not something you want to hear as a Dodger fan, although he did not have the greatest 2022 stats. 6-3, which win-loss really doesn't matter. A little bit over a 4 ERA, 0.3 WAR, 65 innings pitched. He had 58 strikeouts, but he had 17 walks. Walker Bueller, I mean, speediest recovery for him. I'm not a Dodger fan, so I'm not trying to say I'm glad that it happened, because obviously I'm not, but the Dodgers really it shows like they don't really need him, as they are the best record in the league. And we're going to talk about, I got a lot of things to talk about with the Cardinals, okay? The freaking Cardinals, all right. Paul Goldschmidt is almost Triple Crown worthy. He just doesn't have the home runs. I think he may still have RBIs, and obviously he has the average by like 200 points, 300 points, 30, 20 average, because he's hitting like 330 still, which is incredible. That's just absolutely insane. He's basically confirmed that he's going to win the MVP. I mean, if he didn't play the rest of the season from now on, I'd still give him the MVP in the National League. I'd give him the entirety MVP, although Aaron Judge is having an incredible season. I would give Goldschmidt the league MVP if there was an award. And then another guy from there, Albert Pujols, the machine, at 694. He's right there. He's almost making it to 700. I don't know. I hope he does. I think he could make it to 700. Comment down below. Let me know if you think he can make it to 700 as well. I'd love to see it, though. Just big benchmark. Big benchmark for a guy like him. And I'd love to see a guy like him. Jordan Montgomery, by the time I wrote this, he had a complete game shutout, 1 hit allowed like the day before this in less than 100 pitches. That is insane. The Yankees are probably wishing he was like that when he was in New York. He has a .36 ERA from the time I wrote this since he's been traded to the Cardinals. That is just insane. A .36 in I don't know how many starts he had at that time, but .36. That you have to have a certain amount of starts to have a .36 ERA. And going on to just the Cardinals in general, in August they are 20-6 with an average of 5.9 runs a game, 289 batting average, 44 home runs in a month, and a plus 50 run differential. Plus 50. That is just like last year. The Cardinals had a perfect second half to their season that led them to the playoffs. They did lose in the wild card, but I mean, obviously they do have the divisional spot right now. They're a couple games ahead of the Brewers. Excuse me. And we're gonna get some older news out of the way. Bryce Harper had his rehab last week. Hit 2 home runs in his first game. I think he's already ready to get going, get back on the team, and kind of just add to this Phillies kind of doing pretty well. Another thing with the Phillies is Noah Syndergaard in his first 4 starts was 4-0. Is he back? Is Thor back? I don't know. He struggled with the Angels, the Halos. I'd love to see him be back. He's the first pitcher since Roy Halladay in 2010 to win the first 4 starts for the Phillies since being lead the Phillies for 4 straight wins in their 4 starts. All right. Team USA is looking even more loaded with Ken Griffey Jr. as the hitting coach. And let me just pull up the roster real quick. Let me list it. I think people have seen it. But today, Will Smith, the catcher for the Dodgers, just committed to joining it. That adds another catcher to their team. And just let me list out the names for you real quick. We got Mike Trout in the outfield, Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Pete Alonso, I believe, is another one. It's currently not loading. I know Mookie Betts is on there. Tim Anderson, Cedric Mullins, Pete Alonso, as I have already said, Kyle Tucker, Will Smith, and I know I'm missing people, but that's just kind of a general basis for you. This team is loaded. I feel like this team will definitely compete with an international team. It doesn't seem like it's been this good all the time, because it seems like the international teams definitely do better. But I think this USA team, with the coaches they've got, the players they've got, this is going to be a dangerous Team USA World Baseball Championship team. Recently, Tatis came out and talked about his suspension. Don't really want to go into it more. I've already went into that. I think it was just another stupid thing again. Him trying to BS his way out of it. You just shouldn't have done it. That's the biggest thing you got to say. And yesterday, Tony Gonsolin was placed on the IL with a right forearm strain, 15-day IL. I don't think it's nothing serious for them. I mean, obviously, I feel like they might be doing it to kind of make sure he's okay. I think he could probably play through it, but as we get into the later end of the season, it might just be a precaution for him. And another thing, as kind of like it, is Justin Verlander was placed on the 15-day for I think it was a calf injury. Obviously, it's Justin Verlander. He's old. He's amazing. He's the AL Cy Young. So keeping him safe is probably the biggest thing that I would do if I were the Astros. So keeping him on that 15-day IL, just if something's bothering him, do it. Another pitcher I want to talk about, a little fun stat, is Roy Halladay. Even though he retired in 2019, since 2009, he still leads the league in complete games with 27. Just kind of shows how good of a pitcher Roy Halladay was. He was electric. I never got to watch him because I was a little younger and I didn't really watch baseball that often, but I got to go back every once in a while. I like to watch his clips. He's a great pitcher. He was one of the best pitchers I've actually honestly watched, probably on YouTube. Time to talk about the Padres. Josh Hader is not Josh Hader anymore. His ERA is terrible since joining. I don't think he joined on July 4th, but since July 4th, Josh Hader has had a 17.31 ERA, with almost the same amount of walks as strikeouts. That is bad. He has been known as one of the best closers in the league for probably 2-3 years. Until this season, he had a 1-point-something until July 3rd, and then July 4th, something happened. He must have just had a little too much on July 4th. Kind of made a season go a little downhill, and it's kind of just hitting him. He needs to pick it up. He needs to get it together, because that's not what the Padres traded for. The Padres did not trade for that Josh Hader. They traded for All-Star reliever of the year Josh Hader. And Josh Bell needs to step it up too. Josh Bell's been kind of struggling. Juan Soto's been Juan Soto, so it's fine. It's just not what you want to see as a Padres fan, and obviously as Josh Hader, and on the Padres team. Angels owner Arte Moreno is exploring to sell the team. I think he definitely should sell the team. A team, when you have two generational talents like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, should not be almost 20 games under 500. That's almost embarrassing at that point to even want to call yourself an Angels fan or call yourself an Angels player. I think they need to get a new guy who was more about player development, trade Shohei and trade Mike Trout, and get him out of LA, because they do not deserve to get their talent wasted there. Trout's been getting wasted there for 10 years. Shohei, only 2. But just give them what they need. Give them the chance to do what they know they can do. And that's not what they're doing for them. All right, and little last thing. I know this has been a little bit of a shorter episode. I kind of want to keep it short this week. I got hopefully a bigger one planned the next week. My top 5 for the MLB, I'm going to go down from 10 to 1. Number 10, I've got the Cleveland Guardians. Kind of pulling away, not really pulling away, but they're kind of showing that they're wanting that AL Central spot. So I've got them at number 10. Number 9, Seattle. I love their heart. They've got a good rotation. They've got a good pitching staff, and then obviously guys like Rodriguez, J.P. Crawford, France, Suarez, Kyle Lewis, their outfield, Haniger. That's put him in at number 9. Number 8, I've got the Phillies. As I said, offensive juggernaut. They've got some good pitchers are finally starting to show up. And that's something that you want from a team like the Phillies, who have had some of the worst defenses historically in the past couple of years. Number 7, I've got the Tampa Bay Rays. They're starting to pick up fire and be the Rays again. Do I think they'll catch up to the Yankees? No. But still, they'll be a deadly team to look out for in the wild card. They're one of those teams that you don't know like all the names of the players, but those players make impacts. Number 6 is the Yankees. Excuse me. They've kind of been on a little bit of a downfall. Obviously, a month ago they would have been number 1. But they haven't been showing that well. Obviously, you may think I'm a little biased from a Red Sox fan. But no, I'm being honest. The Yankees kind of been a little bit of a iffy team. Obviously, they're still one of the best teams in the league. That's why they're at number 6, but not something you want to see as a Yankees fan. Definitely could be a little shaky in the months of October. 5, I've got the Cardinals. Cardinals have just been the Cardinals. As I said, they're 26 in the month. Everybody on their team's just been on fire. Their pitcher's been on fire. Hitting's been on fire. And I love to see it. I love to see the Cardinals doing well, especially in Yachty's last year. 4, Atlanta. Atlanta, one of the 2 teams in the NL East that are incredible. What's going on? I think they're a game behind the Mets for the NL East. So nothing big that they couldn't possibly take over the NL East spot. And then number 3 I've got for the Astros, best team in the American League. Obviously with Verlander going on the IL, they won't get him for 2-3 starts, which is fine. They're still a great team. Number 2, I've got the Mets. The Mets are the Mets. They've got a great offense. Their starting pitching is the best pitching in the league. And they've got a great bullpen, a great closer with Edwin Diaz. Number 1 is going to be the Dodgers. They're really just the Dodgers. They've got the best offense, defense, everything. There's nothing much to say. A great coaching staff. So that's why they're in the number 1 king spot. And that's about all I've got to say for today. That's going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this one. Apologize for that long delay, the not posting last week, but we got it up this week. And I'm hoping next episode can be a lot bigger. Maybe have a guest on there too, and I'm excited for next one. But I'm hoping to see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in, and peace out.